Welcome back to the Lunchtime podcast. Today we're going to review the incredible last 16 games, which saw possibly the best day of international football of my lifetime. Mr. Lunchtime, welcome again. Thanks so much. The purveyor of soccer knowledge is back.
How's things?
Yeah, never better, never better. Have you enjoyed the last 16 so far? Looking forward to the semis, the quarters?
Yeah, I can't wait now. Thought it was a bit of a slow burner at the start, but it really kicked into gear, especially on Monday. And Tuesday's games were not bad either. But yeah, no, some brilliant games, and we can't ask for much more really from the last 16 of the Euros, can we? Certainly justifies the UEFA letting three teams through, four best placed third teams, and actually three of them knocked out group winners in the last 16, which is quite an amazing stat, really.
Despite Ricky Sadler on RTE's, hatred of the third team coming through. And I must admit, I was wrong on this as well. Pre-tournament, I mentioned in one of the podcasts that I would prefer just the top two teams going through, and how wrong was I?
Yeah, and we might have history repeating ourselves. You wouldn't know yet. Portugal finished third in their group 5 years ago now, and they won the Euros. So what's to say that Switzerland, Czech Republic or Ukraine can't win it?
100%. I don't think we've ever had a Euros where at this stage there's been so many strong teams knocked out. Like from the group of death, they're all dead.
Yeah, it lived up to its name.
It did indeed. And just to get onto it, but before we start, we're going to chat a little bit about punditry, because myself and Mr. Lunchtime have sort of always riled against the poor quality of punditry that's across almost all media in Ireland and the UK at the moment. And it seems at the moment, if to get a job for RTE, you just need to be the most world-weary, miserable possible pundit that you can get and have some sort of a career in soccer. And like it seems like in the interview they ask you, does anything impress you? And you just say no in a dour voice, like you're at the back of a funeral, and you get a job. But just to look at it, we're going to go through a few of the main things the pundits have mentioned so far. Nobody has beaten Italy. Gary Neville. We've several Italy have beaten no one, should I say, so far. Well, they have beaten or drawn with everyone in the last 3 years. So that's a very, very strange comment to make. There was a big one that you pointed out, Mr. Lunchtime. Kante cannot play in a midfield two. And that's been proven time and time again. That's a quote from Gary Neville again.
Another one that Gary Neville was proved wrong on, since we're talking about him, is when Italy beat Switzerland 3-0 in the group stages, he described Switzerland as a nice team, a bunch of lads you'd be happy if your daughter brought home to you. Well, I think they proved him wrong when they knocked out France the last night anyways.
Well, they bet the shit out of France the last night, and in an unbelievably combative thing, so I wouldn't want my daughter going out with them. But yeah. on the Kante thing, Kante is 2 PFA Player of the Years in the Premier League, playing in a midfield two. One was with Danny Drinkwater, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yeah. And the other was with Cesc Fabregas, who's a brilliant player going forward, but he doesn't really defend, so to speak. And he also just won the Champions League, winning man of the match to both semi-finals and final, playing beside Jorginho in the middle of the pitch. So I don't know where that thing is coming from, to be honest.
Absolute and utter madness. But to go on to the RTE pundits, Richie Sadler the last day, Liam Brady especially really riles me, because he's from that John Giles, Eamon Dunphy and him had like fantastic careers of just kind of banter punditry. That was the style at the time, like if you look back at Soccer Saturday up to a couple of years ago, it was just banter with massive lack of knowledge about any of the players' teams, tactical analysis. But the banter kept it going, didn't it?
Oh, it did indeed, yeah. But poor old Liam now is on his last legs in his punditry days. He openly admitted in one of the games that he doesn't know anything about the team. I can't remember the team they were playing, but he openly just said, I'll let Damien take this one because I don't know anything about them. So, yeah, that says it all, really, doesn't it?
It's really shocking. Like it's like when John Giles was asked to analyze Japan back in the World Cup in 2002, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they've a few lads here. Kazuki Honda, sure he'll motor around." But like Sadler mentioned the last day that when Denmark played Wales, Denmark have a front three or had a front three playing from top class clubs. They're playing Brathwaite, who played for Leganes and then was signed by Barcelona because they couldn't sign anyone else on financial fair play. He scored 2 goals in around 4 goals in about 70 games between the two teams. Kasper Dahlberg, who's playing for Nice, who didn't start every time for Nice, and Martin Damsgaard, who plays for Sampdoria, who came 9th in Serie A. That was your top class starting line. And bearing in mind that Wales in their front three had Bale playing for Spurs, James playing for United, and of course the Cardiff City man Kiefer Moore, as well as Aaron Ramsey pushing in there playing for Juventus. So just mad sort of comments. On the RTE one though, I've been really impressed with Damien Duff. He's really done his homework.
He does. He knows his stuff. You can tell he's new into he's done his coaching badges recently. He's been involved in the Irish setup under Stephen Kenny, so he does have a good knowledge of a lot of players in the tournament. He was also involved with Celtic under Neil Lennon, so yeah, his knowledge is broad, in fairness to him. And he has a good dry sense of humour, throws out a few one-liners. I think the best one I heard was on, which game was it? He didn't want it to go to extra time. I think it was on Sunday. Or no, it was Spain and Croatia game. And he came out with a line that he was meeting his dad for a pint after the game, so he didn't want it to go to extra time, which was quite funny at the time, I thought.
That was absolutely brilliant. And then when they were leaving for the commercial break between the Spain game and the France-Switzerland game, they said, "We'll all be back in a few minutes, apart from Damien is going for a pint with his dad." And that was a very Irish bit of punditry. It was fantastic. Let's fly on to the games because people are going to get pissed off with us talking rubbish. So the quarterfinals, Switzerland and Spain. What have you thought of the Swiss so far? Who has impressed you?
Yeah, they've been good. They are a very, very together and solid international team. We spoke about this pre-tournament. They were in the group with Italy and Wales and Turkey. And we spoke about how they just know how to get the job done. They got out of the group. And then they turned up against France. And I thought, until they missed the penalty to go 2-0 up, they were outstanding. They should probably have been 2 up on France. They just, like, international football is so different from club football. Like, it doesn't matter really what clubs you're playing for, as long as they're kind of in a decent league and they're playing 38 games a season. If you can get that buy-in, the country, like, all these players are proud to play for their country. They're just, yeah, they've been impressive. Like, Xhaka is their leader, he's their captain, he's everything to them in the middle of the pitch. And he was absolutely brilliant again the last night. He got man of the match. And he's not the same Xhaka you see playing for Arsenal. You see the same thing with Pogba. He's not the same Pogba playing for Man United as he is for France. And you see with a lot of players that when they put on their country's colours, they just transform into the player that they should be all the time, so to speak. Shaqiri's a brilliant player for them. He really, really always steps up for Switzerland. Like, he doesn't even play club football, you could say. I doubt he's played 10 games for Liverpool this season. And they just, they're a very good, solid international team. They always qualify for tournaments. They usually get out of the group at tournaments. Now, they usually do come unstuck in the knockout stages, but they put that to bed by beating France last night.
I think the difference in this Swiss team is their depth. Like, from the bench, they brought Wolfsburg's Mbabu, who was absolutely electric as a right wing back. I think he will start ahead of Wildmer against Spain. Fastnacht, I thought, was really combative in midfield. He's from the Swiss league for young boys. Mehmedi, who's been around the German league for the last 10 years playing for Wolfsburg, was good. Fabian Schär coming on. I think he'll start ahead of Rodriguez, who was the poorest of the back three. I thought Elvedi and Akanji were absolutely brilliant. They have a decent goalie in Jan Sommer. With Xhaka being out, I can see them bringing in either of the, like, Zachariah, who's absolutely fantastic, but he's had loads of injury problems. He's a brilliant midfielder for Mönchengladbach, or Jibril Sow, who's been really good this year for Eintracht Frankfurt. So I don't think Xhaka being out Xhaka's performance, especially against France, was extraordinary. He was really good. He matched Pogba sort of stride for stride. We saw both sides of Pogba the last day, I thought. His biggest problem for United is when he slows the game down. I don't know, is it kind of an arrogance thing, especially when he holds off players in the middle. He takes the ball to feet, and instead of a one-touch pass to keep the move going, he holds it off, stretches his arm out, and invites players in. Then he holds them off, tries a bit of skill, and he gets caught in possession doing that. And even when he got caught in possession the last night, which gave Seferovic. But even when he doesn't get caught in possession, it slows down the fluidity of moves. And I think he does it at United because he feels he has to do it all on his own. But for France, again, there's no United player that would start at this France team, I think. So he doesn't need to do it for France, and he shouldn't have the last day, and it really cost him. Apart from that, though, you saw some of his best as well.
Yeah, he was very good now the last night. But things just, France, they haven't been their imperious best throughout the tournament. They went a goal down to Hungary, they got a goal, they managed to bring it back to get a draw. They drew at Portugal, and they beat Germany, who were quite poor last night. So they haven't been at their best in this tournament. Mbappe hasn't fired. Griezmann hasn't really got going either. I know Benzema has had a good tournament. He scored 2 brilliant goals again the last night. But sure, there's no point to us talking about France now when they're out.
Let's get on. I apologise. Switzerland, Spain. On the Spanish, the form, and especially as you pointed out before, the injury history of Ramos forced them to drop him before the tournament. They played Switzerland, Spain actually twice. They won 1-0 back in November, and then they played them again and drew 1-1 in Switzerland. So their last 3 games have been 2 1-1 draws and a 1-0 to Spain. So it's been very tight between these two teams. Ramos missed 2 penalties in Switzerland, but Switzerland missed a load of chances as well. It's a brilliant game if you want to go back and have a look at the highlights on YouTube. But again, with Ramos out, they brought in Laporte. Laporte's story is really, really interesting with his Spanish nationality. He was born in Agen with Basque grandparentage, and after a little bit of time playing, he was signed to the Academy of Athletic Bilbao on the basis of his Basque heritage with his grandparents, and there was loads of arguments about that. The only other French player that's ever played there is Beatrix Lizarazu, who we'll all remember, the unbelievable left back for France. They're the only 2 French Basque players that have been allowed in. But he was in the Bilbao Academy, and he sees himself as Spanish. Was in the academy for a year and then was brought up to the first team. So France at the back looked good. I think I thought the last day against Croatia, despite drawing and going into extra time, they managed to rotate really cleverly. Enrique made 7 substitutes between the 60th minute onwards, and he even rotated his centre backs, which is kind of interesting, where he took off Eric Garcia and brought in Pau Torres about the 70th minute. So Spain would probably be pretty fresh. Do you think they'll have enough for the Swiss in St. Petersburg?
Yeah, I do. I was very keen on Spain pre-tournament, and I still am. The thing about them is, I said this last week, and I don't want to be repeating myself, but they're just so hard to beat, and they showed a great resilience the last night. Things weren't going well for them. Morata missed a few chances again, as he always does. They had that freak own goal to go behind, but they showed great battling quality to come back and go 3-1 up. Now, they made a load of subs, and you could see, especially when Koke came off, he was high-fiving Luis Enrique, and the smiles were going. It was kind of like, this game is over, I can take off my players, get ready for a quarter-final. And then things went bad for them at the end. I think they badly missed Eric Garcia when he went off. I think he's a brilliant future centre-half. I know he's small, but he's quite good. He's quick. He's very good on the ball. His positional sense is excellent. I thought they kind of fell apart there, but they regathered in extra time. They won 5-3. Realistically, could have ended up 7-3. They had so many chances. So I think that was a good test for them, and I think that will stand to them going forward. I just want to talk about the superstar they have in the middle of the pitch, Pedri. This guy is 18 years old. He's played nearly 100 games for Spain, Barcelona, and Las Palmas, who he was on loan at last season. And he ran the game in the middle of the pitch. And Croatia's strength is Modric and Kovacic and Brazovic in the middle of the pitch, and he just ran the game. He was the best player on the pitch. He won the ball back 8 times for his team. He just drove forward. This was all after he scored an own goal. You know, many 18-year-olds at this level would fall apart after that. And I think he just symbolised Spain in that nothing was going to stop him, and he just kept going. He played the whole 120 minutes, thought he was outstanding. He's going to win Young Player of the Tournament. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. And I think they have a gem in him. Another one is Ferran Torres from Man City. He's young, but he's turning into a fine player. I know you have a stat on him. If you want to give it to it.
This will link into my bet as well. Spain in the last 13 games, so that's sort of recent form in the last 6 or 7 months. They've 6 draws, 6 wins, and 1 loss, which was away to the Ukraine. In their 6 wins, Ferran Torres has scored at least 1 goal in every single game. He scored 3 as well when they hammered Germany 0. So Spain go sort of as Ferran Torres goes. Dani Olmo has been very strong in all the games they won as well. Their draws, which, if you're a Swiss fan, would be really encouraging. They drew to Holland, Switzerland, as we mentioned, Portugal, Sweden, Poland in this tournament, and Greece. So Spain are fallible. And if you like the double chance on Switzerland, more power to you, because Spain's form showed that when they do get ahead of teams, they've scored 21 goals in these 6 wins. When they do get ahead of teams and get on the board, they're very, very good. Playing counter-attack football with Ferran Torres. Sarabia has been fantastic in this tournament, coming in, creating chances, scoring goals. The bet for me is Torres to score from inside the box, which is 23-10.
Very good, yeah. I'll go for Spain to win and over 1.5 goals in the game. I think they'll win. And that'll be... And also, just, I touched on it last week, and it came in again. Always a good bet in the Spanish game is the corner handicap. It was 3 the last night against Switzerland, or against Croatia. They won 6-0 in normal time. They've conceded, in their 4 games, they've now conceded 4 corners, and they've had 26. So it's just something to keep an eye on if you don't want to back Spain straight up. But yeah.
Definitely forget my Ferran Torres bet. Do the corner handicap on Spain. It's coming in every single game if you're having a bet on this game. Next, Italy, Belgium, the clash. Our boys Italy, I wrote articles before the tournament backing Italy as our favourite to win the tournament, and Denmark as our dark horse, both potential winners. So it's good to see them in the final 8 for lunchtime. We're really happy here, and we hope they can both make it into the semi-finals. Do you want to talk a little bit about this game? We'll keep it a little bit shorter, Mr. Lunchtime.
Yeah, this game it's really the big clash of the last 8. You have 2 potential winners coming up against each other. The rumours are that De Bruyne and Hazard are going to be missing for Belgium, which is massive. I know they have a great squad, but they are different class of player. Very hard to replace that sort of, not only the class, but the experience on the international stage. But the one thing I would say is often these big games are the most boring ones. We've seen it the last night as well with Belgium and Portugal. Was probably the worst game in the last 16. So yeah, I don't know where to go with this game. I still like Italy. They struggled, to be honest, against Austria. Austria were really, really good, and they put it up to them. But they still found a way through, as all great teams do. They have the options off the bench. What they're replacing, the players coming in aren't that much of they're not at all a downgrade on what's on the pitch. If not, some of them are probably better than the likes of Chiesa and the likes. But yeah, I find it a very hard game to call. I'd probably play the draw, to be honest. It'll be a tight, cagey affair. Both of them will sense, with a lot of the big boys out, that there's a great chance to win a tournament. And it's different from the likes of your Switzerland, who can have a go because they wouldn't have expected pre-tournament realistically to go much further than this. So what's the point in going out, limping out? Whereas these teams would have had aspirations of winning the tournament. So it will be that bit more cagey.
Yeah, agreed. It could be very cagey. Very interestingly, both teams have scored in their last 12 games, both high-scoring teams. Neither team has conceded. Italy haven't conceded in their last 11. Belgium haven't conceded. Italy have conceded once. That was to Austria. And Belgium conceded once in this tournament to Denmark in a game where Denmark hammered them on the back of the passion born from Eriksen's misfortune in the first game. And Denmark were fantastic, but they soaked up the storm. How they beat them in the second half was through the absolute genius of De Bruyne, Hazard and Lukaku combined. I think if Belgium are to win this game, we're going to have to see magic from Tielemans in the midfield. He's going to have to be their leader, I think, and drive them on in the absence of De Bruyne. He's perfectly capable of doing it. Beside him, Axel Witsel is going to be the anchor. Again, Thomas Meunier and Torgan Hazard will have their work cut out for them, trying to stop Spinazzola. Powering down the wing. I see a draw in this game as well. I think Italy had a blip against Austria, which is no harm. It happens in tournaments. Apart from that, they've been pretty much outstanding. But again, there's no bet for me in this game that I like apart from a draw. And if you haven't backed Italy to win the tournament, you still have time now because they're still third favourites behind England and Belgium. So we'll pop on to the next game. Saturday, Czech Republic and Denmark.
No, this is a game that could be good. You have Denmark would have expected to get this far. Czech probably would, in fairness, as well. They'd be a confident bunch. I thought they were outstanding against Holland on Sunday. Even prior to De Ligt's red card, I thought they were brilliant. Alone, they had 8 shots inside the Dutch box, which tells you how attacking they went. Their 2 wing-backs, Soufal from West Ham, who we spoke about before, brilliant. And the deputy, because their normal left-back was out injured, from Hoffenheim, Pavel Kaderabek, was outstanding down the left wing. And I'd be shocked if they don't actually start him the next day. He was brilliant.
He was brilliant for Hoffenheim this season.
Yeah, he was a brilliant player the last night. Dumfries did get in behind him, but that is the way Dumfries played. But he really counteracted Dumfries down that right-hand side and attacked Holland. A lot of their attacks came down that side, and I thought he was brilliant. Thomas Holes in the middle of the pitch was outstanding, brilliant at protecting the back four. The Dutch had 0 shots on target in the game, which will tell you how well Czech Republic defended and gave up no chances. They had that chance where Malen tried to round the keeper at 0-0. That should have been 1-0. But apart from that, the Dutch didn't create much. They were very good against England too. I know they lost 1-0 to England in the last group game, the Czech Republic, but they were very good in that game. They had quite a few chances. I know Pickford made a brilliant save from the West Ham guy, Thomas Soucek, in that game. And I was very impressed with them that day. I was even more impressed with them against Holland. And they'll have a right good crack off Denmark, but I'd still expect Denmark to have too much for them, to be honest. It could go to extra time, possibly. I would expect Denmark to pull through. I don't know what you think on that.
Yeah, I think Denmark will pull through as well. I thought the subs that came in the last year were fantastic. Derrida, who's their 10 and keeps all the ball, was out. So Barak came in, and I thought he was very, very, very strong. They dropped Yantko, who I've been really impressed with on the left wing. He gets such good deliveries into the box. They dropped Alex Kral for Spartak Moscow, who's supposed to be coming to the Premier League. And they brought him in off the bench. They still have Holzek from Sparta Prague, the absolute wonderkind, the 18-year-old. Should anything happen to Patrick Schick, who's been their leader and talisman, and every sniff of a chance he gets, he looks like scoring. He's on super form. This could be an absolutely brilliant game. I think Denmark will win. However, and if you want them straight up to win, you're getting better than even money. It would be helpful for Denmark if Josef Poulsen comes back for this one. He's as a striker, he's doesn't convert a huge amount, but he has played for Leipzig for almost 300 games with 77 goals. It'd be nice to have that option off the bench for Denmark. Who came in, Damsgaard has been absolutely fantastic, the 20-year-old from Sampdoria. Another man who could easily get a move. He's really proven himself in only his 5th game. And Kasper Dolberg, who had 9 passes the last day and then scored 2 absolutely fantastic goals, which is the sign of a good striker, barely getting a touch. And sticking it in. So maybe we're seeing the former wonderkind Kasper Dahlberg, who's now at Nice, and a little bit disappointing. If he's on form, all the better for Denmark. Let's fly on to England and the Ukraine.
Just one more thing on Denmark before we move on is one thing I find fascinating in sport is momentum, and Denmark have that in spades behind them. And once a team gathers up a head of steam, they are very, very hard to stop. And England are another team that are doing that at the moment. It's a big thing in sport. It's very hard to break. They have goals coming from everywhere in the team. They were the first team ever in Euros to score 4 goals in back-to-back games. I know Spain did 5, but have to follow and even it. But they just, like, it's very hard to stop that. They're very confident. They're on a crest of a wave. They're riding out the storm, and I just think they'll just have too much for Czech Republic. But like Dolberg as well, now having scored 2 goals, he's going to be in flying form coming into this game. He'll be looking for one sniff of a chance, similar to Patrick Schick. And I think this could be the game of the round. And sure, we'll move on at that, I suppose.
Agreed. It could be absolutely fantastic. Czech Republic will not be afraid to put it all out there. Their shape was absolutely brilliant against Holland, and defensively, Holles and Souček are unbelievable defensive midfielders. And should West Ham sell Declan Rice for 100 million, buy Holles for 10, and he'll be the same player. Yeah, and also to mention, of course, Denmark, a dark horse, Lunchtime's dark horse. If they get to the final here, will be the happiest of all time. So do you want to have a chat to us about your thoughts on England and Ukraine?
Yes, the first thing I want to say on this is the 2 managers, Andrei Shevchenko and Gareth Southgate, to be fair to them, they deserve massive credit for the way they set up their teams in their last 16 games. Shevchenko in particular, because the Ukraine were a shambles in their last group game against Austria, and they ended up scraping through as a best placed third team on goal difference. And he changed from a 4-3-3 to a 5-4-1, 5-3-2, 5-4-1 sort of formation. And they were instantly way more solid at the back. He moved Zinchenko from the middle of the pitch to left wing back, where he plays for Man City, and he was outstanding down the wing. Like absolutely brilliant. The 3 in the middle of the pitch, Shaparenko, Stepanenko, and Sojdušek, they played for Dynamo Kiev and Shakhtar, and they were 3 of them were brilliant. They're 3 similar enough players. He dropped his kind of midfield star in Atlanta's Malinovsky, brought him in after 60 minutes. He'd been poor in the tournament. He had his best performance when he came in. I think he got everything spot on. He went for the game in extra time. You often see teams in extra time just playing out for a penalty shootout. I know Sweden were down to 10 men, but he brought on all attack-minded subs, and they went for it, and it paid off. And similarly, Gareth Southgate. One thing I want to say about Southgate is previous managers in England, you think of Sven, you think of Roy Hodgson, you think, who else was there? Capello. Like, they're all big names, but they all fell to this thing of media and public opinion and found a way to fit their best players into a team. Like, you think, like, I remember Scholes playing on the left wing in one match, Jamie Carragher playing right back to fit him in. Like, but Southgate doesn't have that. Like, he left out Grealish. He knew if the game went wrong, he'd be sacked, and the backlash from leaving out Grealish, who seems to be the whole country's hopes, seem to be pinned on him. And he played Saka in his place, who Southgate has played a lot of left back this season as a defensive-minded player. But then he had the wherewithal to introduce Grealish at just the right time, and Grealish created the 2 goals against Germany. He also moved to 3 centre-halves and 2 wing-backs to counteract Germany's play down the wings, and he completely stopped Kimmich and Gosens, who've been Germany's best players in the tournament, and really and truly Germany had nothing without them.
Yeah, totally agreed. Southgate hasn't departed from his style, which is ultra defensive, ultra conservative, regardless of who they're playing. That has worked for them in that they haven't conceded. So, you know, that's a fantastic feather in their cap to bring into the next round. They are possibly, I said it in the last World Cup, that England are the luckiest of any side in the tournament. Again, they're the luckiest of any side in the tournament. Their one game they'll play away from Wembley will be to a Ukraine team that'll be harbouring 4 or 5 injuries. So yeah, really, really positive stuff from an English perspective. Everybody will be saying it's coming home. If they may not ever get a chance like this again to take it home, because they win this and then they take the winner of Denmark or Czech Republic back to Wembley, and the final is at Wembley, and that'll be in front of, I think it's a capacity crowd. Have they confirmed that yet?
I think they have, yeah. They have, I think.
Just on the Ukraine, I totally agree with everything you said about Shevchenko, a Dynamo Kiev man. 7 of the starting team were Dynamo Kiev the last day. We're playing for Dynamo Kiev currently, or we're in the academy. The amazing thing about this team is from Bushjan in goals, Zabarny the last day, the 18-year-old centre-half from Dinamo, he was really outstanding, I thought. Zadorchuk from Kiev also, and Shaparenko, 2 DMs. Stepanenko, I don't want to go over what you said, but I totally agree. They were fantastic as a midfield trio. But of this team, almost all of these players played in the academies together as kids, or at least at some stage for either Shakhtar Donetsk or Dinamo Kiev, who won the league by 11 points this year. And Shevchenko, that's why this team is so well knit. They're so tightly bonded. He's going to have to make a few changes the last day. He was so brave in dropping Marlos and Malinovsky because he knew they wouldn't have the work rate that he wanted for that game, and it worked. So fair play to Shevchenko. Yeah, I think England to win to 0 though is probably still the best bet out there at the moment. Southgate's media analysis, like you can see it. People know he has no pedigree as a coach, apart from what he did with the under-21s, which was not good. But what people are saying about him is he's kind, he's well dressed, he's well spoken. Because you can't say too many positives about him tactically, but he was dead right the last day. Like Germany, if you watch back at the Germany-Portugal game, between Gosens and Kimmich, they must have created 10 chances between them. Gosens alone had a goal disallowed, and another goal from a header, and 3 shots on target apart from that, just from Kimmich crossing to him, because Portugal and Fernando Santos started with 4 at the back. Germany just overloaded them and played 5 attackers when they were attacking, and they couldn't handle it at all. And Southgate spotted that, fair play to him, and played his wing backs, who shut down Kimmich and Gosens. So they were fantastic. Shaw and Trippier defensively was very, very good. So, Mr. Lunchtime, have you anything?
I would go. I think England would win the game. Just one little bit of caution I would have for England is that we've seen in this tournament, they've been settled in their own, like they've been in the same hotel for the whole tournament. They played all their games at Wembley. There's going to be a little difference. I know it's not that much, like it might seem tiny and irrelevant, but they have to travel to Rome. It's the first time they'll be traveling in the tournament. The Ukraine have traveled everywhere. We've seen it with Holland and Italy, two teams who looked outstanding at home, and they struggled in their first away match. So that could be something to give the Ukraine fans a little bit of hope. I think England win the game, probably something like 2-0 perhaps. It could open up if England score. Ukraine aren't the sort of team who are just going to sit there and lose 1-0 and limp out of the tournament. They will. Shevchenko, it's in his nature to attack. He will go for it if they're losing with 10 minutes to go by a goal. He'll throw on all his attacking players and go all-out attack. And with England introducing the likes of Grealish and Rashford perhaps, we might even see a Jordan Sancho for 10 minutes on the counter-attack. It could get nasty for the Ukraine later on. But if the Ukraine were to get it, say in that scenario, I know we're doing a lot of guesswork here, but in that scenario, were Ukraine chasing the game and were they to score and get it back level and bring it to extra time, the momentum would all be with them, and it would be something different for England to face. But England will probably win the game. I'll just give you one little fun fact here, Biggie, before we leave. Do you know who Shevchenko scored his first Premier League goal against?
I don't.
A Gareth Southgate managed Middlesbrough.
Wow.
So hopefully Shevchenko will be driving that into his players, that if I can score against a team managed by him, surely one of you can.
Yeah,
And
like if you want to stay on the anti-English train when you're watching it, Ukraine double chance. Ukraine to win or draw is 2-1 in some places.
yeah,
But from what we've seen from this England team, yes, they were impressive against Germany, but that's the only game that they've impressed in. So don't get too caught up in it. Like
yeah,
more commentators bollocks. Like the Irish, I can't remember who was the commentator on the first Germany game, calling Germany a well-oiled machine and speaking
yeah,
of how you never write off the Germans. Like Germany just lost to Macedonia 2-1 at home in a game they needed to win in the World Cup qualifier. So they were far from a well-oiled machine. They just brought back Hummels and Muller from a retirement who hadn't played together. They were an unoiled machine. They were really like they only they played in fits and spurts. They were fantastic against Portugal. Apart from that, they looked kind of clueless and shapeless. On the England game the last day, though, I thought Hummels was extraordinary defensively.
I was just going to say that, and it's probably the last time we'll see one of the great defenders of his generation play on the international stage.
Yeah, 100%. And he really, like, if that's his last performance, that was one for the books. Like, if you ever get a chance to look back at the game, some of the game-saving tackles, how he marshaled the defence, he was let down on his right side by Ginter, I thought a bit, who was out of
Yeah,
position a lot, and Rudiger out of position sometimes, but Rudiger also had a good game. The reintroduction of Harry Maguire has meant a lot. I thought his aggression, the way he attacks the ball, that really fed to the Wembley crowd. You know, towering headers coming out from the back or hitting people hard in 50-50 tackles around the middle. I thought Harry Maguire was absolutely brilliant because he has the cover of two behind him and he can get away with that. So he doesn't have to. When Harry Maguire turns back to his own goal, if you get the ball over his shoulder, he looks very, very dodgy. But attacking the ball, he looks really good.
and on that point that you just made there about, I couldn't disagree with anything you said. And with Harry Maguire, it shows the one time Germany did get in behind him, he had to take a yellow card. He gave away a free kick on the edge of the box once he was turned. But coming onto the ball, he's outstanding. A lot has been made and will be made, especially in the English media in the next few days, about the fact they haven't conceded a goal. But a lot of that is, like, it is an impressive record. No, don't get me wrong. But the Czech Republic had 3 or 4 good chances against them. Scotland had a few good chances against them. And certainly Germany had 2 brilliant chances yesterday, with Muller through 1-on-1 when he missed at 1-0, and Timo Werner when he had that chance in the first half where he was 1-on-1. Pickford made a great save in fairness to him. So, like, they have conceded chances and they haven't conceded. So they're not unbreakable at the back, is what I'm trying to say, as what will be made out in the next few days.
No, I don't think they're as good as, like, Belgium and Italy both conceded. Is it a goal apiece so far in this tournament?
Yeah.
Like Belgium conceded 1 against Denmark, Italy 1 against Austria. But I don't think England are as good at the back. Even with the 5, I don't think they're as good at the back as Italy's 4, with Chiellini hopefully coming back the next day to partner Bonucci. Like on England, I like just more standout players. I thought Calvin Phillips again is England's star man. As a ball player, he's fantastic. As a Leeds fan, you should probably pick him up. I apologise.
He's brilliant. I've been saying it for the last 3 years since Bielsa came to Leeds. It's just been a revelation. Like, I know Bielsa took him on as a personal project, as he calls it. He was about to be sold to Charlton in League One when Bielsa came in, and he stopped the sale. The following season, Villa bid 25 million for him. Bielsa again said no. He's made him sign a new contract. He had a brilliant season for Leeds. He gets a lot of criticism in the English media. It's possibly due to the fact he was playing a championship up until this year. But he's a brilliant, brilliant player. He has everything. He's just a brilliant player. I know his first England cap, he gave the shirt to Bielsa as a thank you for everything he's done for him in his career. And he's really transformed him. And he's the heartbeat of that midfield. Rice gets all the headlines. He's a bit of a headless chicken at times, Rice. It's the best way I could describe him. I don't get all this about him. He makes so many mistakes. He's awkward on the ball. It takes him 4 or 5 touches to get the ball out from under his feet. But he does that thing that the English crowd love. He throws the arms up. I'm doing it here as I'm speaking. He puts his arms up, fist pump into the crowd and all that, gets them going. He's an English boy from London, I suppose. So They love that sort of stuff. But yeah, another player for England who's been outstanding in this tournament is Raheem Sterling. He's their top goal scorer with 3 goals. He was brilliant again the last night. He gets an awful lot of criticism. Southgate stuck by him. Everybody wanted him out of the team before this tournament, but Southgate stuck by him, and he's paying him back in spades now.
100%. And what Sterling does so well, and what Guardiola kind of bred into him at City, is just the sneakiness of getting around to the back post and getting into good positions over and over and over again, regardless of if you miss chances. Raheem Sterling is absolutely hell for leather, getting into the spot all the time where he can score a goal and putting himself into position to score goals. With his confidence up as well, I think he'll continue to be good. Like, a word of warning for anybody who wants to sign Declan Rice, especially Manchester United, if you're signing him as a holding midfielder, look back at the likes of, say, Nemanja Matic or somebody who you could compare him to. If they're both in their prime, I don't think Declan Rice would be within a million miles of him. I think he's a decent holding midfielder. I think if West Ham sell him, I think they'll replace him instantly with Hollis, or and a similar level midfielder, and I don't think there'll be any drop off, because West Ham's best holding midfielder is Thomas Souček. But again, like, that's where the hype is. He'll probably get a move in the summer. If United are signing, please sign Calvin Phillips ahead of him. You won't regret it. Mr. Lunchtime, we better finish. Thank you so much to everybody who's listened to the Euro podcast so far, the Lunchtime podcast. We'll continue with these for the rest of the Euros. After the Euros, we'll be back there'll be a lot of GAA podcasts, because we'll be coming into that time in the summer. So looking forward to that. Mr. Lunchtime, thanks so much.
A pleasure, Biggie.
Everyone else, like and subscribe, send to your friends. We'll much appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the Euros, and thanks for listening.